Great questions. What about some answers? Are we ever going to get those questions answered? And can she face criminal charges? The answer is yes. Right, Judge?
Well, yes. Good morning, guys. She certainly can face criminal charges with the acknowledgement of Friday evening. The typical Friday evening,
of course.
So hopefully be buried in the weekend news, with the acknowledgement Friday evening that she wiped the server clean after she knew that Congress was looking for her documents.
What's the matter with that?
Well, she has added to potential crimes. We already know that she's admitted to the crime of concealing the government's documents from the government while a government employee. She's admitted to the crime of diverting classified information away from a government-secured venue and putting it on her own. Right. She now has acknowledged destruction of government property, and because the government was seeking that property at the time she destroyed it, obstruction of justice. But none of these charges will mean anything if she's not accused or charged by a prosecutor. And who controls the federal prosecution apparatus?
Eric Holder.
Eric Holder.
And then Loretta Lynch.
And presumably Loretta Lynch.
So many layers to this onion, Judge. For me, on the technical side, I'm fascinated by how you could wipe a server clean. You'd have to literally smash it with a hammer, and even then, to get removed data,
you know, I called some of my friends in the intelligence community who told me yesterday the same thing you did, that her lawyer is probably wrong when he said it's been wiped clean. In fact, these people who work at Fort Meade, Maryland, said to us, get the server here. We'll get everything
Oh, my
out of
goodness.
it. We can do that unless she hit it with a sledgehammer and it is physically inaccessible.
Or someone did. Yeah. So the person that, if in fact someone did take a sledgehammer to it, anyone involved then is also subject to these charges as well? No?
Well, that person would have to be aware of the fact that the contents of the server were being sought in an official government investigation. Look, this started in September 2012, Benghazi, when then chair of one of the House committees, Congressman Chaffetz, wrote a letter saying, preserve all your documents because this is what we want. So she's been on notice. She was the sitting Secretary of State at the time. She's been on notice since then that Congress was seeking the documents. She basically told Congress, and after that there have been 3 subpoenas. She basically told Congress what they could do with their subpoenas and with their letters, and managed to destroy them in a methodical way.
Her argument, though, is bizarre because her whole statement at that press conference a few weeks ago was, well, I didn't want people having to deal with knowing my yoga schedule and my birthdays and talking about wedding plans. It's my personal stuff. That's why I set up my personal server. You're never going to see that. So why wipe it clean then?
Well, that's really hogwash because she's a lawyer. She's been in the government for a long time. She was First Lady. She was United States Senator from New York for 8 years. And when she made that statement, she had already served 4 years as Secretary of State. She knows that the law says the government has mechanisms to protect the privacy of its employees, but the government decides, not the employee, what's personal and what is to be kept secret and what is to be exposed. And she knew that the Congress was looking for this information.
If she indeed knew that, then, I mean, when you see that
the key is as to whether or not she's committed the crime of obstruction of justice when she ordered the server wiped.
Right.
She is going to argue that in January of 2015, a new Congress came in. And so the subpoenas and the letters that preceded January 15 were then no longer valid. That is the technical argument that she's going to make. In terms of avoiding criminal prosecution, there's some merit to that argument. But the public will react the way we're reacting. That's absurd. You have known for years the government wanted this. As a lawyer, when the government wants documents, you have a duty to preserve them, not destroy them.
You know what's fishy about this? In addition to the fact that while she said, you know, I was using this server that my husband started, they actually registered the domain the day she was sworn in as Secretary of State, the day she was confirmed as Secretary of State. So that's a little fishy. And then just to wipe it clean when, you know, nobody's looking.
It doesn't pass the, you said fishy. It doesn't pass the smell test.
It doesn't. It makes you think that anything that was deleted or destroyed may be actually worse than any charge she'd be facing.
Congressman Gaddy should not have a private conversation with her. She must be under oath.